What's going on, everyone? I'm Tello Shelton. This is Coffee with the Bearded Reviewer. And today, folks, I have a very special episode for you. I had the chance to do this Zoom meeting with a new addition to all the people that I collaborate with, but this is Adventures with Pictures. And so, this is another podcast crew. I wasn't able to get his friend that is also the co host, but I got I at least got a friend who was willing to take up his time to do this with me. So what we decided to do is that we wanted to review a trilogy as a whole. So we ended up talking about Lord of the Rings and a little bit about The Hobbit and a little bit about the MCU, Star Wars, just kind of like stuff that kind of like intertwines with our main topic. Like we were doing some comparisons, and so I just want to say thank you for watching this video. Let's get started with this amazing video. Hey everyone, I'm Tyler Shelton, and this is a very special episode as I have my friend here. And I just wanted to let you all know is that we're not talking about one movie, but we're talking about a series as a whole. So we are talking about Lord of the Rings trilogy, and we might talk a little bit about The Hobbit, but the main subject matter is Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. And how about you tell us about who you are and where people can find you?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. My name is Ryan, one half of the Adventures with Pictures podcast. And real quickly, our podcast we just combine me and my best friend of 20 years. We just combine our passions together in one show. He's very passionate about traveling. I'm very passionate about photography and so forth. And you can find us on definitely on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you play your podcast, Amazon podcast, anywhere. We're on all platforms. And my co-host, he posts some of the YouTube videos on his YouTube page, the Travels in My Lifetime YouTube, if you want to see the visuals of what we discuss.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you so much for being part of this. I'm very excited for this particular meeting because, as I told you before, Lord of the Rings is considered to be my all-time favorite trilogy of all time, just
Yes.
right in front of the original Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, that's a good point. So it's just like Lord of the Rings is 1A, and then you got Star Wars as 1B, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like when you look at trilogies, sometimes trilogies can give you kind of like trilogy fatigue. Like
Mhm.
you might watch the first one and you're thinking that it's like so awesome. Then you get to the second one, you're going like, okay, I dig it. But then when it comes to the third one, you're like, this again.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point. But yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, one thing I really appreciate about the Lord of the Rings trilogy is that they actually filmed everything all at once. So it really felt like that it was like a very fluent storyline. Like they knew exactly what they were going to do since day one. And that's kind of the very reason why that I was a little bit disappointed with the Star Wars sequel series,
Mhm.
because it was actually revealed by Daisy Ridley that she actually said that she had no idea what her lineage was,
Mhm.
because in the original Force Awakens, she was told that her ancestor was actually meant to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, but then it shifted over to someone else and then over to Palpatine. And I'm uh, like you're just not seeing any continuous storytelling.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And you make a great point with Lord of the Rings. It was almost like one huge, however long it was, maybe like one huge 10-hour movie that was just broken into three parts, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. And
The
yeah, yeah, it was great.
Actually, I forgot to ask you, have you
Mhm.
watched the extended versions?
I'm not gonna hold you, man. Like the original ones were so long enough, man. I definitely didn't watch the extended versions of it, and I remember watching the third part, the part three, one time in college. I watched all three of them in the theaters, of course, and just a heads up, like I am like a movie buff to the point where, hey, man, I take my bathroom breaks right before the movie, so I'm not interrupted. All that I got my snacks, my popcorn. And like, I just remember part three being so long. Like, I literally I had to like take 4 bathroom breaks. But so with that being said, I definitely couldn't sit through the extended version, but it was still great. Obviously, I mean,
Oh
it was,
yeah.
yeah, no lull in the movie at all.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, like as of right now, like the background that you see, this is actually on the extended version.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing is that when you look at the extended versions compared to like the theatrical version, I
Mm-hmm.
almost feel like that they should have just kept everything that was in the extended versions because it actually helps out with some of the plot holes that was left out of the theatrical version. Like there was one instance where in the very beginning of Return of the King, just right after the hobbits and the ants take over Isengard, and then all of a sudden they just cut down to where the group meets up with Treebeard, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it felt like that there was something missing. Like, how did the orb of Osgiliath? How did it go from the very top to where Saruman was
Mm-hmm.
down in the puddle? Like something was missing. But when you watch the extended version, you actually see what happens. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's why I personally enjoy the extended versions because they actually do a lot of more explanations to some of the plot holes in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
So like I like the extended versions more than the originals just because that even though that they're a lot longer, especially like Return of the King, is
Mm-hmm.
that this one is actually the longest compared to the rest of the two.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, like it's just pure glorious cinematic experience. Like I'm all like, why not have the extended version just be the full on theatrical version?
Yeah,
Like,
well, like have the extended just be the only version in the first place. It sounds
yeah,
like so. So like like how much longer was the extended version versus like the original version? Was it like an additional hour when it comes to that? If you think
yeah,
about it.
it was like 15 minutes more,
Okay, that's not too bad. 50 minutes more, not too. Yeah, okay,
but
all
that's almost an hour. Like,
right.
I mean, that's it makes the movie feel a lot more fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm just gonna give you kind of like my personal thought on which one I think is the best out of the three.
Yeah.
But I would say that the second one is the best.
Mm-hmm.
The Fellowship of the Ring, and then the Return of the King. I mean, as much as I love the Return of the King, it just felt like that it was a little bit underwhelming, especially when you got like this 30-minute and boom, 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 boom. You're getting like all these different endings to all of these subplots throughout the entire series. It's kind of like dragging on.
Yeah, it drags out too long. Too long.
But
Yeah.
the weird thing is that when I read the books, I had to reread them again.
Okay.
And I was quite surprised because this was the first time I've read the books since like almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
So when you look at the movies and when you observe the books, like it's quite fascinating how much they were able to get into like the extended versions because they really put in like a lot of detail. Like you're going, okay, that's in the book. Like I would say that there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot more that's in the book more than that was not in the book.
Got you, got you. Well, I know it's your show, but I want to ask a question only because I'm embarrassed to say I haven't read the books. My only knowledge of Lord of the Rings was through the movies. Now, do you feel like the Lord of the Rings series is one of those series that the movie version is just as good as the book? Normally people say the book is always better than the movie. Do you feel like Lord of the Rings is kind of defeats that myth?
Mm, you know what? That's a really good question. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, there are several moments when I am all like, wait, that character didn't say that. The other character said that, but at least they have the characters say specific things that actually was from the books. But I would say that this one is probably the most closest based on the books that I've ever seen.
Mhm.
I mean, like in comparison to what you see like other based on best-selling books, movies, I would say that
Right.
this one is like the closest.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can see that. And you know, and I remember. I know this was a while ago when it came out, but of course, if you remember, I know the whole trilogy just made a buttloads of money, hand over fist when it comes to money.
Hmm.
But do you know how, like, for example, I'm a huge Marvel fan, but like they got Marvel. They always pit Marvel and DC against each other as far as the
Hmm.
whole compare contrast. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say there was like maybe at some point they kind of did the same with Lord of the Rings versus like the Harry Potter series for some reason. Just that whole fantasy sci-fi. Do you remember that, or am I just bugging perhaps?
Uh, no, I think you nailed it there. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, like you said, especially when it comes down to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that. Like,
Hmm.
they can essentially just make like their own continuous story, like their own
Hmm.
universe, because when it comes down to like movies like that, because they're actually based on comic books, but there's just like a wide variety of stories that has like different worlds, like different realms.
Hmm.
So it would make a lot of sense that they would can just come up with their own universe,
Yeah,
do
true.
their own storytelling, but they would still stick close to the source material of the characters. I think
Right.
that's the only thing that they could rely on when it comes to like source material. It's just more based on the characters and not like the story aspect.
Hmm. Got you. Got you.
But
Well, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like the Avengers series, I would consider that series to be like among like the top five series of all time.
Likewise, I agree, 100%, 100%. And I know you spoke on it earlier, and it sounds like I'm copying you, but I honestly felt the same way as far as your order of importance when it comes to like your favorite, your favorite ones to the least favorite. I mean, I would definitely agree that the Two Towers was also my favorite out of the three. I think I like the Two Towers. I like the battle scene of like the orcs at the end, and then
Oh
getting
yes,
yeah get yeah
you're talking about the Battle of Helm's Deep.
yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. That just that whole thing alone, and plus, like I said, since I wasn't familiar with the book, Gandalf was one of my favorite characters, and so to see
Mhm.
him come back in part two,
Yeah.
and to see him have a glow up, he went from Gandalf the Gray to Gandalf the White. It was just like, okay, Gandalf not only is resurrected, but he upgraded. He's fresh with the all white, and
Yeah.
he's just as cool as he was in the first one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? One thing I really love about Gandalf is that he's got kind of like that savior element to him.
Hmm.
But when I had the chance to kind of like just read the books and stuff like that, is that he was really like J.R.R. Tolkien. He really based Gandalf on Jesus,
Hmm.
and so like there's a lot of elements of the actual books that is very close to like the whole stories of the biblical times,
Okay.
and but he did it in such a very elegant way because I've not yet read some of his other stuff, but I do remember that there was actually a total of there was two blue wizards, one brown wizard, one white wizard, and one gray wizard. But
Hmm.
these are actually each of the wizards. They're in the beginning times that they are like the sons of like the one true man that created Middle Earth,
Okay.
and so they're kind of like fragmented, and you're just seeing like these elemental wizards. And the weird thing is that in the actual books, Gandalf will turn down the role to be the White Wizard,
Okay. So that was different from what you saw in the movie when he resurrects and he's a white wizard.
but he became the White Wizard because his creator
Hmm.
was all like, "You're doing so well. You've been the most courageous out of all the wizards that I've created. I want you to go back and be the White Wizard that Saruman failed to be."
Got you. Gotcha.
And
Yeah, yeah. Saruman got on my nerves, by the way. Yeah.
but the weird thing is that, I mean, like when you look at Saruman, you still see that he has kind of like this. He still has a sense of goodness in him, but he just let his jealousy of Gandalf cloud him and make him go a dark path because he was kind of like one of those characters that, yes, he is considered to be the most powerful wizard, but he was just not really like the most favorite wizard when it comes to their creator, because Gandalf was considered to be the most strongest willed character.
Hmm.
And so you're just seeing this jealousy is just got the best of him, and it caused him to go like, if I have the One Ring, I can rule Middle Earth, but be a good guy in this situation. But he just executed it in just a very homicidal way. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was the only thing that I was a little bit upset that I didn't get to see in Lord of the Rings, because that was just
Mhm.
like one big elemental story that I thought that would have further developed Gandalf's character and Saruman's character. Like
Yeah.
there's kind of like this bitter rivalry between the two.
Hmm. And like you
But
said, it was based off jealousy for what it sounds like on
yeah,
Paramount's
yeah,
side. Yeah.
Saruman was a very jealous character.
Got you. Got you. And you know, and that makes sense. I mean, the one thing I liked about all the just the whole trilogy in itself, like there was so much that was just relatable. Like, you know, even though yes, it's sci-fi with dragons and orcs and dwarves and that's all, but it still had like some real life element that you could be relatable. Like for example, you just brought up the whole jealousy and rivalry with you know Saruman and Gandalf. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I know I can't speak for you, but just speaking on my personal opinion, I've seen stuff like that in real life where you got two talented people in their field of business or whatever the case is, but for whatever reason, once again, they're both equally. Well, just a quick background: I do video editing and multimedia,
Mm.
and I've seen different photographers, just get jealous of each other. They both just as talented, but for whatever reason, maybe this guy is getting more business than the other. Next, even though he's just as talented, she gets jealous, and next, it's just this. You see this bitterness come out of somebody, and so I just
Yeah,
found that there was just a lot of stuff like that. Even with Frodo, the main character, he wasn't like the biggest or the strongest, but he was still so brave and heroic, and was like
yeah,
the only person who felt like he was going to be able to do the right thing with the ring instead of getting
yeah.
tempted with the greed and power of it and so forth. So
And yeah, I really love what you just said there, because I really do think that, I mean, in a weird way, I feel like that because Frodo was such a very courageous hobbit,
mhm.
that because of him being so courageous, I don't think he could have been so courageous without his best friend Sam.
Good
And
point.
and so it really reflects more on Sam, because he is portrayed to be like, I consider him to be like the greatest character that is based on like a best friend of the main character. Like, hands
Hmm.
down, he's the greatest best friend to the hero
Hmm.
in cinema
You know
history.
what? Yeah, that's a good point. I think Sam and I forget the I forget the character's name, but Sam and the best friend of the main character in Get Out has to be two of the best friends you can have. I don't know if you saw Get Out or not, but those two have to be up there. Those are like Hall of Fame best friends you can have.
Oh yeah, for sure. Uh, I mean, in a weird way, I kind of feel like that maybe you could also see Captain America and Iron Man have that caliber of best friend deal. But one thing I really appreciated about the whole characterization of Iron Man and Captain America is that they have very different ideals, but they just had nothing but respect for each other. They understood each other. They wanted the same thing. They executed their ways a little bit differently, but at the very end, best friends forever. And that's
Yeah.
one. I mean, like, you can have a best friend character and have them either challenge or encourage the other character, because it just really helps out with better storytelling.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's another great thing about it. And because I revisited some of the movies not too long ago because I was so excited. I wanted to refresh my memory with some of the things. yeah, of course, there's so many names to remember and characters and
Oh
roles.
yeah,
Yeah, but but one of the things that I find amazing when I just reflect back on it, there was so many familiar faces of like famous actors, that I just didn't
Mhm.
realize when I saw it, years ago. For example, Sam, you know, I don't know why it didn't click years ago, but when I watched it again, I was like, you know what, that's Rudy. That's Rudy from the
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And then Gandalf was played by the dude who plays Magneto
yeah.
in X. So it was just so many, like I said, maybe I just wasn't as familiar years ago when it came out, but watching it again, I was like, oh my goodness, look at all these people who have
And
been in other stuff I like. So it's funny.
it was really about. It was kind of about that era that really started some of those actors' careers. I mean, like when you look at Lord of the Rings, you see like babyface Elijah
Mm-hmm.
Wood, uh, Dominic Monaghan. I mean, like Dominic Monaghan, he got his break from this trilogy, and it led him to having my favorite character from the Lost series. And then you got the
Mm-hmm.
likes of like Carl Urban, who plays Aomir, and now he's just like this big time actor who is now in The Boys. You got him from Star
Yes.
Trek.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, I love the boys too. Yes, but you're right. Yeah, you got started in Lord of the Rings, and yeah.
yeah, a lot of these big name actors, they really got their big start with this trilogy. Like
Mm-hmm.
it almost feels like that, especially with certain actors. Like when you look at Elijah Wood, I that's kind of like the other issue about trilogies is that once when you get used to one particular character, you can't unsee that character when you see that actor in other movies, and that I think that was kind of like the main reason why Elijah Wood kind of fell down into stardom because like you really don't see him not without seeing Frodo.
That's a great point. Yeah, whenever I see Elijah Woods, that's the first character I think of. I know he's been in other stuff, but it's you're Frodo. Every time I see you now, you're just Frodo.
Yeah, and it just goes the same thing with like actors such as like Harrison Ford. Like he will
Mm-hmm.
forever be known as Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Like you can't undo that. Like
Mm-hmm. You can't
and
undo that.
I remember in the interview that he was saying is that he never wanted to have that specific kind of fame, but he made the choice. And I'm like, dude, it's over with. You're going to be forever known as those characters. Just get over it.
That's true. I don't know if you've seen The Wire on HBO, but no matter how many roles Michael K. Williams plays, he's always going to be Omar from The Wire to me. That's
Mm.
that's just him. I mean, he was in Lovecraft Country, and he did a phenomenal job.
Oh yeah,
But still, in my head, I'm like, there goes Omar just back in the day in the '50s or whatever. It's just I just can't unsee it.
right.
So,
And you know what? There was actually one particular actor that I've always appreciated was uh, Tom Hanks,
great actor.
a really great actor. And I don't know how he does it, but he's just it's just weird because he encapsulates every single character that he plays. Like you do see Forrest Gump, but the weird thing is that you can see him as like other very famous characters. Like
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't take away from being one of those actors where you're all like, oh, you're this guy, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
see you play this role. But he somehow makes it work. I think that's the reason why that I would consider him to be like the greatest actor that I've ever lived.
I
Like
could
he
definitely agree. Mm-hmm.
and I think another actor that that just did so well. Like even though that you would see him portray this particular character, but you're all like, oh, you're this guy, and that was actually
Mm-hmm.
Chadwick Boseman. And seriously, rest in peace, man. I I had nothing but respect for him. Like I think the first movie that I've ever seen him in was actually The Express, the football movie. Have you seen that one?
Yes, yes, wonderful movie, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful movie.
Yeah, seriously. Like I just every single role that he took, he just really like devoted his time and effort to play a character just so grounded, so very captivating.
Yes,
And you
yes.
got the other movie where he plays James Brown,
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson. Black
Hmm.
Panther. Like
Yes.
he's actually really played some of the most influential characters, well, people in our history.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. Thurgood Marshall as well. He did Thurgood Marshall.
Yep.
And you know what? It's funny. This is some time before before he unfortunately passed away. But I remember when 21 Bridges came out, and I remember seeing
Mm,
I remember seeing a trailer for it. I was like, man, that looks so good. But for whatever reason, I just took that movie for granted. I was like, I'll see it when I see it.
mm,
And I didn't see that movie until after he passed away. And when I saw it, it's like you couldn't like. I mean, I read his bio. I know he's from South Carolina, but just his acting was so good. You couldn't tell me he wasn't born and raised in New York. Just how his accent sounded and how he
right.
took that role on as like this take no crap New York detective. So
Yeah.
it's amazing for sure.
But I think the story about Chadwick Boseman is so inspiring because I actually heard that it was Denzel Washington that kind of helped him start his career,
Hmm.
which I thought was I didn't know about that not until like a couple weeks ago. Like I heard that Denzel Washington just paid for his tuition for his acting in college, and
Hmm.
that, the rest is history. Like I'm all like, whoa, Denzel Washington did that?
Yeah, that's awesome. It's almost like in a roundabout way, Denzel Washington kind of like passing on the torch to like another actor, and unfortunately,
Yeah,
he passed away. But I
uh,
thought that was very, very dope of
yeah.
Denzel.
His passing really shocked me. Like I did not expect that to happen.
Hmm.
But with some of the stuff that I heard about what he did before he passed away, like there were some stories that was told by some of his friends and family that he just had some of the most touching moments with them before he passed, and it was just absolutely just great to hear that he's left like this big mark in our society, like the most respected actor, just a very kind, just very caring person, and not only that, he actually, even when he was hurting from the cancer, that he would always go to a children's hospital and see the kids and just spread, just kind of like be there as an inspiration.
Yeah, yeah. I just so amazing, so amazing. I could definitely go on all day about just the awesome stuff I heard about him. I know I don't want to get away from your main point of us continuing the Lord of the Rings, but just
Yeah.
one last story I remember hearing about him was the the female actor who was kind of like his sidekick, for lack of a better word, in 21 Bridges. Like apparently she felt like she was grossly underpaid, and like Chadwick Boseman voluntarily took a pay cut so she could get a pay increase in doing the 21 Bridges movie. I thought that
I,
was awesome.
yep, I heard about that.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. But back to your original point, man. Like there was
Yep.
so many actors who got their start from Lord of the Rings. And matter of
Mhm.
fact, I'm embarrassed that I forgot his acting name because he was in another trilogy that I enjoyed. But Agent Smith was one of the like
Oh yeah,
the elf.
yeah, Hugo Weaving from
Yeah,
the Matrix.
yeah, yeah. He's like an elf. I mean, he's already been in two of. I mean, I think to your point, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings are definitely top tier trilogies.
Yeah.
But that's pretty awesome to be involved in a Lord of the Rings trilogy and a Matrix trilogy,
Hmm.
and he killed it in both roles.
Oh, he really did.
Hmm.
And you know what the weird thing is that it felt like that Hugo Weaving. It felt like that he kind of took a break after Lord of the Rings because, like, I'm pretty sure after Lord of the Rings he was set for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But it was not until I think it was back in 2017, 2018. I can't remember what year it was. Maybe 2017. But there was I actually did go see Doctor Strange and Hacksaw Ridge at the
Hmm.
same theater, just like a marathon
Hmm.
thing. So yeah, we watched Doctor Strange first, and then we watched Hacksaw Ridge. And when I saw Hugo Weaving,
Hmm.
best acting role that I've ever seen him do.
He was in Doctor Strange.
No, he was in Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh, okay, okay, I got you. Okay,
But
yeah, okay.
have you seen that movie?
I have not seen Hacksaw Ridge yet, but
Oh,
is it
okay.
worth saying? Is it worth saying though?
I would. Here's my statement to you. You have to watch it, but that movie Hacksaw Ridge, best war movie since Saving Private Ryan.
Now that's saying a lot. Saving Private Ryan is like a Hall of Fame war movie to me. So
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna check it out then. I'm gonna
yeah.
definitely check that out.
But the weird
Definitely.
thing, is that it feels like that this movie, it feels like it has two parts. Like you got one part when you're seeing kind of like the main character. I mean, this is actually based on a true story.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so you see this guy, he's kind of undergoing kind of like this trial about like testing his faith in God. And then you got the second part where like everyone has accepted him for who he really is, but now he has to face the actual war itself.
Oh,
But
so is that Hugo Weaving's conflict in the movie? Like that's what he does, or is that just the movie in itself?
it's movie as itself. But
Oh, okay. Okay.
but like what I'm saying is that it just felt like that the first half of the movie is mostly based on the base in the United States. Like he's being fought by his comrades. Like they're beating him down. They're trying to make him wield a gun because he actually made a promise to himself that he would never carry a gun.
Mm, okay.
But then in the second half, they accept him. They let him go into the war without a gun. But his main point for going to the war was actually to save lives because he decided to be a medic in the army.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got you. I got to see this movie now, man,
Oh yeah,
because yeah, like I said, he's one of those guys. He already has a hell of a resume with Lord of the Rings and Matrix by
yeah,
itself. But if you're saying Hacksaw Ridge is just as good, then
yeah. Like I think Hugo Weaving got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that movie.
for Hacksaw Ridge,
Yeah,
okay,
like
okay,
I think to me personally, I think the father to the main character in Hacksaw Ridge is probably his greatest portrayal he's ever done.
I got to see this then. I got to see this because I was impressed with him ever since Mr. I'm about to say Mr. Anderson, ever since Agent Smith.
Oh
So
yeah,
to go from Agent Smith, I forget his name in Lord of the Rings, but go from
Elrond.
yeah, so go from Agent Smith to Elrond. I gotta check him out in Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh,
Cause like yeah, you're right. I haven't seen him.
Also
Hmm.
the Red Skull.
He was a Red Skull. Hey, that's right, right. He was the Red Skull. I
Yep.
forgot about. He has quite the resume
Yeah,
already.
he's just one of those like very famous actors that you just have nothing but respect for him because he just knows how to pick his roles.
Yeah, he does. And that's the thing. Like even going back to your original point with Elijah Woods. Like I remember, I forget what year it came out, but I definitely want to say it came out after Lord of the Rings. But I remember watching Sin City,
Yep.
and for one, I don't know what type of health regimen Elijah Woods is on. I don't know what type of skin cream he uses, but he looks like he just looks like he just never ages. He's one of those guys who just like.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing him in Sin City. He was like some crazed serial killer.
Yeah.
And to your point, I was like, wow, why is Frodo killing people? It was just
Right. And you know what? It almost feels like it's almost kind of the same thing for but Sean Astin, Rudy
uh-huh.
himself.
Yeah.
Like after Lord of the Rings, he was pretty much done for the rest of his life. Like I mean, he has appeared in a few other movies. Like after Lord of the Rings, he did 51st Dates, which I would consider to be one of the best Adam Sandler movies.
Hmm. I agree with that. I like Waterboy is one of my favorites from Adam Sandler. But and
Dude,
he was also in Rudy, the guy who played Rudy, he was also in Stranger Things for a brief period of time.
he was?
Yeah, the guy who played Rudy, he played like the new boyfriend of the son who went to the was it the upside down place or whatever it was called.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Now I remember.
Mm.
I forgot that he was in that season. Uh, you know what? I think there was one other movie that he was in. Oh gosh, now it's gonna kill me. Yeah, I mean, just to go back into Lord of the Rings, is that
Mhm.
there's a lot of the actors that came from this trilogy. It just really paved the way for their careers,
Mhm.
and it was a nice refreshing thing to see Elijah Wood to be Frodo Baggins in The Hobbit. Like you only see him just for like a quick moment, but it was just like, it made me
Hmm.
smile.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Now, another thing that I like, I'm a huge like bear with me because it still kind of wraps up with Lord of the Rings, but I'm a huge hip hop fan, and one of the things I'm a fan when a rapper chooses one producer to do the whole album.
Hmm.
And I know if I'm not mistaken, that's one thing I did enjoy about Lord of the Rings. If I'm not mistaken, I think Peter Jackson did all three of the Lord of the Rings. Did he do The Hobbit as well? The director.
He did.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I love when the same actor can just. I mean, not actor. The same director is involved with like a trilogy project, as opposed to
Yeah.
you see some other sequels where one directed it this way, but then part two came out. I think when you have different directors for sequels,
Yeah.
that's where you get that whole the sequel. The first one was great, but the sequel was trash.
Hmm.
Stick with the. I think if you stick with the same director when you do like sequel projects or trilogy projects, I think it's
Right.
very well. And Peter Jackson did a phenomenal job, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is that it's very rare that you would get a second movie that is actually better than the original. But
Hmm.
when it comes down to movies like that, definitely The Two Towers is up there. Like, I
Yes.
really do think that The Two Towers just drastically improved upon like the original, The Fellowship of the Ring. Like the grand scale, especially like the Battle of Helm's Deep, greatest battle I've ever seen in cinema history.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I kind of feel the same way about the Hobbit trilogy as well, because like as much as the first one, I here's the crazy part is that the first movie, the first Hobbit movie,
Uh-huh.
I just could not believe how very to a T it was compared to the book. Like the very first one, it sticks very close to the source material, like every single moment.
Hmm.
I'm like, whoa,
It was like neck and neck. Like, oh man, this
yeah,
is really on point. It's really on point. I remember The Hobbit. I mean, bits and pieces flow in and out of my head, but I definitely I don't know, man. I definitely I definitely remember the whole thing. Like it was like just a whole. That was very deep in that movie as far as like how many people was on that journey? Like 10 people. It seemed like on The Hobbit. Yeah, Bilbo Baggins, like a handful of what dwarves,
and one wizard.
a wizard. What was the guy's name? He was like the warrior of the group. Like what's his name? Theodore or Thor?
Oh, you're talking about Thorin.
Thorin. Yeah, like they
Yeah,
was. Yeah, they was like really a deep crew in
yeah.
the Hobbit.
But you know what? I think that was kind of like the downside for the Hobbit series is that I mean, as much as I actually love the book, The Hobbit,
Hmm.
but I think when you observe The Hobbit in a cinematic experience, it doesn't do that well because there's just a lot of stuff that feels like that it's not going to work on screen.
Hmm.
But like when you have a template such as Lord of the Rings, like you got a variety of characters, like different races,
Hmm.
it makes more sense. But
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
look at there's a total of 13 dwarves and you got one hobbit and one wizard, it feels a little bit off.
yeah. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Did
Like
Mhm.
you're gonna see one big tall wizard, and then you're gonna see pretty much evenly matched height small dwarves, and then you got like a hobbit that is probably just like a foot shorter than the rest. It feel it, especially if you compare it to like a silhouette image,
uh,
it's just gonna look weird.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely like a weird crew that's coming through the door if you see them coming. It's just.
Mhm.
Did you have a favorite? Did you have a favorite character?
Mm,
Through in the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
ooh,
like.
wow. Well, there's a lot of great characters that I absolutely just loved from Lord of the Rings, but I think when it comes down to like the one character that got the most character development
Mhm.
has got to be Sam.
Yeah, yeah. To your point, best one of the best wingmen you could ever have. So yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and even Gandalf was another great character, and then you got Aragorn by Viggo Mortensen. and you got Pretty Boy Legolas.
Wasn't that Orlando Bloom?
Yeah,
Legolas?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Back in those days, he was a huge star, and now he's all like, where is he?
Yeah, he's still eating out Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean money, you know?
Yeah, but the crazy part is that it was actually not long ago that he actually became a father.
Really?
Yeah, him and his wife Katy Perry, they apparently just had their child maybe like a few months ago.
Nice. Nice.
But
Awesome. Like,
I'm
yeah.
very happy for them.
Yeah, like I knew there were a couple. That shows how under a rock I am sometimes. I knew there were a married couple, if I'm not mistaken, but I didn't know they had a kid. So
Yeah.
definitely congratulations to that.
Mhm.
Super awesome. Super awesome.
And you also got other characters such as John Rhys Davies as Gimli.
Hmm.
I mean, he was already kind of like a household name even before Lord of the Rings because he made it pretty huge in the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And what's the guy? My man, Andy Serkin, I think his name is, or
Yep.
Serkis,
Oh,
Golem.
yes, precious.
That is that is an on point.
Stupid fat hobbit.
That is spot on.
Precious.
Oh, that is spot on. That is a spot on. See, I can't. I'm gonna mess around and hurt my throat. I can't get down with. That is spot on though. Spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what?
Uh,
6 Degrees Separation. He was in Black Panther.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he was also in the second Avengers movie.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, like Lord of the Rings, have really skyrocketed his career.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Especially when it comes down to like him and his best friend Peter Jackson. Like, not
Hmm.
only they did Lord of the Rings together, they did a Hobbit. They also did Tintin. They did King Kong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They did a lot of movies together.
Oh yeah, man. Like, and that's the thing, man. Like, like if I was to give like a grade from A to F when it comes to the Lord of the Ring trilogy, you have no choice but to give that an A plus, man. Like, even though we have our, we agree on the order of best to worst. Once again, I
Mhm.
agree with you with it's the Towers, Fellowship of the Ring, and then Return of the King is the third. But as a whole, trilogy as a whole, I have no choice but to give it like an A or at least A plus as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just awesome, man.
Oh, another very famous person that became after this movie, Liv
Hmm.
Tyler.
Of course, Liv Tyler. She was in Hellboy after that, if I'm not mistaken. Played Hellboy's girlfriend for a while.
I think that was a
Uh,
different actress.
oh my,
But,
I might have got it confused. My bad.
but you might be thinking of her being oh, the girlfriend to the Hulk.
Okay, that may have been it. And she was also she was also in Armageddon, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Armageddon came out before the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Got you. You might be
I
right.
think that movie did. I think that one came out maybe like 3 years before the first one came out.
You know what? You're right, because I remember that was one of my damn. I was in high school when Armageddon product came out, and that was I went on like one of my first dates ever.
Oh,
In high
really?
school to Armageddon, and almost embarrassed myself because I almost cried at the end when Bruce Willis sacrifices himself, but I had to hold it together. I can't cry in front of this woman, the girl I had a crush on who agreed to go on a date with me. But it was close. I was close.
Oh man. But you know what? When it comes down to movies that have made me cry,
Hmm.
Return of the King actually made me crack, especially at the
Hmm.
very end,
Yeah.
because that's if you're able to get me to cry, you know that you got me sold on this series.
Yeah. What was it towards the end? Which part towards the end made you cry?
The moment when all the hobbits were saying goodbye to Frodo.
Oh yeah, yeah. Was it Sam like bawling in tears and stuff too?
He
Like,
was.
yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. I could see that, man. That's up there. That is up
I
there.
mean, it will be so difficult for you to lose your best friend, anyone who
Hmm.
you hold your close as like they're your brother or sister.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
that's
mean,
another thing.
I
Yeah.
have I have two older sisters. I'm the youngest in my family,
Okay.
but either way, if you have a brother or sister and you lose them, it's going to be the most gut wrenching moment.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm the oldest. I have a younger. Actually, let me take it back. I'm the middle child. I think I have an older sister and I have a younger brother. So I could
Mm,
definitely relate to that. Yeah, it's
yeah.
tough. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But definitely part three. I can see that making you cry. But that's another thing. You get the you felt closure with part three though,
Yeah.
like with the end. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as much as the ending of the trilogy just ended, just kind of like just dragging the story
Hmm.
along, it still
Hmm.
made me cry just because like you're just seeing like this very sentimental moment between the hobbits and their parting ways with both Bilbo, Gandalf, and Frodo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think to me, I think the greatest moment in the entire trilogy, like if I was to choose like the best scene in this trilogy, it
Okay.
would probably have to be the moment when Frodo is just climbing onto Mount Doom, and then you're just seeing him just struggling so much, and then Sam goes like, "I will not carry the ring for you, but I can carry you," and that was just like the most amazing moment.
Another wingman of the year moment, man. Like
Yeah,
Sam was. That's definitely the best friend you want to have, man.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I can't pinpoint a favorite moment, but I definitely can't argue with you on that one. I guess if I have to do a favorite moment, it would have to still be that I would have to convert it to like a favorite fight scene, which was like you said, the fight scene towards the end of the towers,
Oh,
in
the
the realm.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. I don't know. I keep calling them Helm's Deep. Yeah,
Oh,
just
it's all
just
right.
that whole thing was just dope. I mean, that's what I think
Oh, okay.
my favorite part of the fight was when Gandalf came with the army to help,
Mm,
and then
yep. That's
yeah,
another great part.
yes, and then next thing you know, you got the retreating orcs. They go back to what they figured is the woods, and then
Hmm.
surprise, it's Treebeard and his gang of trees. So I thought that
Yeah,
was
and
awesome.
I think another very impressive moment has got to be. Well, I mean, like you can't talk about the entire cast not without talking about Sean Bean.
Okay, Sean Bean.
Like, even though that you see him die in front of you, but he just had this great ending of his arc. But he's done it in a very heroic way. Like he goes down a warrior's death.
You talking about the scene when he was getting hit with the arrows? That Sean Bean? Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, even though that he was just one of those characters that you kind of hated him, just the way that
Hmm.
how he treated Frodo.
Hmm.
But at the very end, the only reason why that he was acting like that is it was all because of the influence of the ring.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, he tried to get the ring from at one point, right before he died. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah,
but
yeah.
then he just had like this good redemptive story just right before he dies. Like you see him just fighting for the sake of protecting the hobbits from a certain death. He was
Hmm.
picking arrows for them, and
Yeah.
it's those now it's just starting to go in slow mo, and you're seeing that big massive orc piercing him with arrows.
Hmm.
And I think when it comes down to some of the greatest deaths in cinema history, I do think that he has like the best heroic death, like a good warrior's death. Like
Definitely good
he
warrior.
went down with a fight.
He did. You had to get the fight out of him, and then also on the side note, on that same scene, just the makeup of the just like the orcs that who took him out was
Mm,
just well done. Like
yeah,
what was it? The chief orc that the wizard created to run that whole crew. Like
yeah.
he reminded me of like somebody who could be related to the predator. Like that's how great the makeup was, in my opinion.
Oh, totally. And you know
Hmm.
what? That I think that right there is the very reason why I'm a little bit more on Lord of the Rings, like 1,000 times more than The Hobbit, because
Hmm.
when you compare these two trilogies, is that like there's more practical effects, more makeup, more
Hmm.
real life stuff than CG. I mean, yeah, there are several moments that is CGI. Like they would only use CGI when it was actually necessary.
Of course.
But when you
Hmm.
look at The Hobbit, you're like, it's a CGI overhaul. Like it was just too painful on the eyes, especially like I actually watched The Hobbit not long ago,
Mhm.
and the most painful visuals I've ever seen is when you see Radagast on his sled with his rabbits, and then all of a sudden it almost looks like he's actually hovering over the grass. It was the most painful thing I ever seen.
That's funny. I remember reading, like I said, I was, I remember reading an article. I think like the Hobbit, at least the first one, had some type of um, quote unquote PETA controversy,
Mm-hmm.
and like they were ordered to like use CGI when it comes to like some of the what was the scene? I think it was like the wolves on steroids who was like attacking the crew at one point or something like that.
Yeah,
It was something, but like clear to your point, clearly
yeah.
CGI with the
But
whole.
I mean, I'm not dissing on the Hobbit trilogy because I do think that the Hobbit trilogy does have good merits. Like the first one, I think it is the most truest to the book I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Like, like when you read the book, you're going like, "Oh wow, they stick very close to the book on this one." But like,
Mhm.
I would still consider the Desolation of Smaug to be the best. That is the second one, and
Mhm.
then the Battle of the Five Armies, and then the Unexpected Journey. I mean, as much as I love the Unexpected Journey's story, like they stick very close to the book, but the issue was is that it just felt like too much of a slow burn.
Okay. Yeah. I do remember trying to get into, like you said the first Hobbit is sticks close to the book. I do remember. Well, just to rewind, the bit when I did watch The Hobbit, the first one, I remember I was on a cruise with my wife. My wife surprised me with like a 30th birthday, and we went to a cruise. And I remember in
Nice.
our, in our room that we stayed in, there was like one movie channel, and it just kept playing The Hobbit over and over again. I just remember one time we were just finally relaxing from doing all these activities on the cruise,
Mm,
and I remember like maybe trying to give The Hobbit like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And I mean, there was some action, I think, within that first 45, but
yeah,
like overall, it still felt like a slow burn, even with the first one.
yeah.
And I just remember coming back in and out of my room, just catching up with bits and pieces
Hmm.
of The Hobbit for that one,
Yep.
for sure.
But overall, I really do think that the quality of the Hobbit could have been a lot better if they just did the same thing with Lord of the Rings, like just use practical effects, just do makeup and prosthetics,
Hmm.
but then they would just use CGI when it was needed, such as like when it came down to the dragon itself. Well, I mean,
Right.
like when you see the dragon, it is still a very glorious dragon to look at.
Yeah, no, that part was still nice. I'm a big fan of like if CGI is done right and it doesn't look like some Sharknado type of graphics or something like that. It was,
Oh my gosh, Sharknado is so awful.
ooh, it's so awful. It's funny, man. But
Did you actually hear that they actually used other footage that was already recorded? Like they did not even record. I heard that they only like video recorded just about like a quarter of the entire movie, and the rest was just like ready videos.
I had no, I have not heard that. Are you talking about Sharknado?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I did not hear that. That is, that's funny and embarrassing. It sounds like
Yeah.
for
But
real.
yeah, like I said before, is that I do think that if they did less of the CGI, it could have made the entrance of Smaug a lot more glorious because you would just go like, oh, look at this amazing dragon.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I do remember seeing the dragon in The Hobbit, and it was, oh yeah, like I said, it was still well done to me. It was good.
Hmm.
Like I love seeing a good dragon thing. Like I think Game of Thrones did a great job when it came to
Oh yeah.
dragons as well. So yeah,
Well,
it was up there. It was Game of Thrones level up
yeah.
there.
Well, even Lord of the Rings, they had that fell beast, the dragon that the Witch King of Anmar rode on.
Hmm.
The one that got its head chopped off by Eomer's sister.
Okay, yeah.
Like that was a very impressive dragon as well. Like
Hmm.
from what I heard, is that except for just seeing the face, but like when they did anything that did not show the face, it was actually all um, animatronics.
Okay.
Like,
That's still
oh,
pretty good.
yeah, the animatronics in those movies were so impressive. I mean, I think the only thing that was not animatronic was the elephants.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
okay, here's a question for you.
Hmm.
So you could definitely tell that there was at least like one significant battle in each movie.
Hmm.
Which would you say would be like the best and the worst?
All right. Well, yeah, sure. I know it sounds like a broken record. The best is definitely um, help me out again. I keep
Uh,
butchering the
are you talking about Helm's Deep?
Helm's Teeth. That's definitely the first one.
Yep.
Um, Dang man. I say the part one. Was it the March of the Dead? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, are you talking about the Battle of the Pelennor Fields?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's number two, and then I think you might have to refresh my memory again. And thank you for the lifelines. I appreciate it. But and part three, definitely up towards the end when like when was there was a battle that ensued before Frodo was trying to destroy the ring, correct?
Oh yeah, that was the battle at the Black Gate.
Black Gate battle. Yeah, those are my three in that order.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even in the Fellowship of the Ring, they one thing I really appreciated about that one is that they didn't make it feel so grand scale. They made it feel like it was more kind of like a personal fight, which I
Hmm.
did appreciate a lot. Like they were like that movie, it really showed that like any action would lead to a consequence.
Hmm.
Like I like it when they do stuff like that because it really helps kind of like further develop the story, the characters, the motivations.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can agree with that. I do. Yeah, it didn't feel like it just felt like it was a natural. I mean, of course, I'm not like a director or anything, but like those fight scenes just felt like the natural flow of the movie. It wasn't like this huge build up, or it was just, in my opinion, just like a natural flow of the movie. And like there were like long, good fight scenes too, like all those big
Right.
battles, which is what I like about it.
Hmm.
I think it was well done. Like it was,
Oh, I agree.
yeah, just awesome.
So I did want to ask you one more question. So like
Anything.
uh now we're kind of getting close to an hour at this point, but I just wanted to ask you one more question, and it's in regards to uh each movie. Like what rating would you give each of the movies, and what would you give the grade as a whole for the trilogy?
Okay, so rating, we talk about scale to from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, Fellowship of the Ring. I would give it a solid. I would give it a solid eight. That's
Okay.
yeah, solid eight. I mean, because like I said, I mean, this is coming from someone who's not familiar with the book. I just saw Lord of the Rings and heard all the hype about it. Went in completely cold, not knowing the movie, not knowing the background of the book, any of that, and I thought it was like really good. Like it caught my interest. 8 out of 10. Um, and once I got into the first one and I heard about the sequel, I'm giving the Two Towers. Damn, I want to pretend like I'm a hard critic and not give it a 10 out of 10. So because I'm gonna be a jerk about it, I would give it a 9. Definitely a 9.
Okay.
It's still up there.
But I mean, like, you would want to give that movie a 10, but you feel like that you need to kind of like think critically about it.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Just being petty. Um, and then I would give like you said, to your point you made earlier about the Return of the King, just for the fact that the running theme obviously is like, damn, these movies are pretty long. The Return of the King, I'm not sure which one is the longest out of the three, but for some reason, Return of the King felt like it was the longest one.
Mm,
And I just felt like, to your point you brought up earlier, I felt like that was the most drawn out because they knew that was the final of it. They wanted to make sure they closed all the, subplots and stuff.
right.
I would give that a 7.5. It wasn't bad. It just felt too long for me, and maybe just suffering from trilogy fatigue. I give it a 7.5. But
Okay.
overall, I'm giving it just an A average.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that because I would feel about the same way, but I would probably the only difference would probably be is that I would place the Fellowship of the Ring to be more on like a 7.5 out of 10. I mean,
Wow. Okay.
it's still a good movie, but
Mhm.
the issue is that it just really dragged out on the story. Like it took you a long time to get to like the juicy parts.
Mhm.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I can see it. I mean, yeah. Some parts were a little long. I could give you that.
I mean that's kind of how I felt about the Joker movie
Mhm.
because like there's just like those there are specific movies that are just like complete slow burns, but they are masterpieces.
Mhm.
But I mean, like when it comes down to like just the movie itself, since it's kind of like a slow burn movie, and you're just kind of like you're learning more about the characters, you're learning more about the world itself. So this was a movie that is just setting everything up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love it. But the very issue is that I'd never read the books, and when I first saw it, I loved it. But now that I kind of like matured and just kind of like started to love the series more and love the books. I mean, like in a critical standpoint, I would give it a 7.5, but as a fan, I would definitely give it a 10.
I can see that. Okay. A fair explanation. What about the tower? What do you think about that
With the Two Towers, I would definitely give that one a 9.5.
one?
But just that one specific point five, the only reason why it's not getting a full on 10 is
Mhm.
it's just because that it's still a long movie, but there were a couple jumping moments.
Mhm.
But I feel like that there were a couple actors that I feel like that could have been portrayed by other good actors. Like you got the actress Miranda Otto who plays Carl Urban's sister.
Okay.
I mean, I still think she did a good job with what she was given, but I feel like that you could in that time period. I'm pretty sure there were other actresses that could have done a better job.
Hypothetically speaking, did you have like an actress in mind who you thought could have filled in
Well,
that role?
at the time, I really thought that someone maybe like a Evangeline Lilly could have been a better actress to play that role
Okay.
because she actually did end up being in The Hobbit. She played um the love interest to that one dwarf and Legolas.
Okay. Okay. I think I remember. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
she she also plays the Wasp in the MCU.
Oh, okay. Once you said the wasp, I'm here. I got you. Okay.
But yeah, like she just has like those piercing eyes that you just feel like, oh, you don't want to mess with her. Like I mean,
uh,
like I said before, is that I do think that the actress that played that character, I still think she did a good job, but I just feel like that someone could have done better than her.
okay.
But that's just how I feel about the Two Towers. Is that it just felt like that there were several moments that I feel like that it could have been better. It's just more kind of like nitpick stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Minor stuff for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would consider the Two Towers an almost perfect movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see that. Like it had everything you needed for, yes, it was sci-fi, but sci-fi fantasy, but it also had its nice fair share of drama in it as
Yeah.
well. Mhm.
And then when it comes to Return of the King, I will probably give that one a 8.5.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of like the very thing that is a little bit more different
Hmm.
from compared to yours, but
Yeah.
I still feel like that the Two Towers is the strongest, but then you got the Return of the King. It's just like the greatest epic conclusion to the story as a whole. Like
I did feel complete. Yeah.
I do feel like that they did a really great job closing each of the stories that we all got from the previous two. Like
Hmm.
you got the ending for every single character, and you got like such an epic grand scale battle. You got two big fights. Like you got the battle of the Pelennor Fields, and then you got the battle at the Black Gate. But this was the very issue that I had with the movie
Okay.
is that the Return of the King, especially when they're battling at the Black Gate, you see a troll fighting Aragorn, and he's on the verge of being killed.
Hmm.
But in the book, Sauron actually does get back into his physical form, and he actually does fight Aragorn.
Oh, no, see, that's a huge difference. They didn't fight
A
in
very
the.
big difference.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
once when Frodo puts on the ring,
Hmm.
Sauron is all like, "Oh crap, the ring is over there. They're about to destroy it." And he starts running and running and running, just trying to make it in time.
Oh, snap, snap.
Like
Yeah.
in a weird way, Frodo in the book pretty much saved Aragorn's life.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and to your point, and what we discussed earlier, and that's what I liked about it. Like Frodo was the man, but he didn't have to be the biggest, strongest, but he was still brave in his own way. And to your
Yeah,
point, yeah, great.
but
Right.
another great character moment is Smeagol himself. Like you also get to kind of like experience what the ring was doing to him. Like
Hmm.
you were just saying that the ring was tormented him for so long. It caused such a good hobbit, and then it corrupted him. It turned him into this hideous beast,
Hmm.
and you just got like this battle between the good side of him and the bad side of him.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah, yeah,
you even got the conclusion for him. Like he's
yeah. He,
he's all happy. He bites Frodo's finger off, and he's like,
My precious, yes, my precious.
he goes down with the ring, like he
he
was.
does.
Yeah, yeah, man. And I'll tell you one thing. Like I don't know about you, but I just remember after a while just empathizing or feeling sorry for Golem. I just felt sorry for him
Yeah,
after a while. Like, damn.
you feel very sorry for that character. Like he was just he was a victim to the ring, just like
Yes.
Bilbo and Frodo was.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I just absolutely just enjoyed how, especially when it comes to the story aspect, because the One Ring it was kind of like its own character. Like they really showcased how powerful this ring can be if it was in the hands of Sauron.
Yes.
But you're only seeing it in like little small snippets when you see either Gollum or Bilbo or even Frodo wear the rings. You're actually
Hmm.
seeing them be quite powerful because being invisible can be quite dangerous.
Hell yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely could be dangerous for sure.
But
So.
like, I just really like it how they just portrayed how the ring was damaging
Hmm.
Sam, Gollum, and Frodo.
Right.
You're just seeing that like their friendship was just on a very tight string,
Right. Right.
and it was just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, all because of the ring and Gollum. Like
Yeah.
Gollum, he decided that all he wanted was the ring.
Yeah, and he was like, there was some parts he was like just manipulative, all that, like do whatever to get the ring, and that's one thing was crazy. You know what? I know we're gonna end soon, but just really quick, like the ring kind of had like similarities to Thanos' gauntlet, glove, in my opinion, about
Yeah,
just how if it's in the wrong hands, it could really be crazy.
yeah, I agree. But you know what? I think that was. I really do think that just the one ring itself, like this little theme right here,
Hmm.
it's just
Right.
crazy that an object like this could just create an entire franchise. Like it's crazy.
That is a good point, for sure.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's my rating for all the movies to, independently. But when am talking about the series as a whole, I will definitely give it like a solid 9. Just because
Okay.
that there's the entertainment value, you got the story, you got the characters, you got the visuals. Like this is a almost perfect trilogy, like the greatest trilogy I've ever seen.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe that's what I would, I'm not trying to, be forceful, but if you definitely had me back, man, we definitely got to discuss what are some of our favorite trilogies or rank them or something, man. But that's
Oh
definitely got
yeah,
to be up there for
that
sure.
can be another video for next time. Like that's enough. That's enough for another episode.
I'm down if
Oh
you're ever so kind to invite me.
yeah,
I'll be back.
I'm definitely down for that.
All right. Sounds cool, man.
So yeah, how about you just remind everyone where they can find you, because I think we're kind of coming down to about like maybe an hour and 15 minutes right now
Oh
because I
yeah.
know that my family is going to need me soon.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, yeah. Let's we can definitely wrap it up. If you're looking at this, please you can follow us on Instagram at adventures underscore with underscore pictures underscore adventures with pictures, and everything else is in our bio for where you can how you can listen. Once again, we're on all the apps where you listen to your podcast, and it's been a pleasure being on here, man. I would love to come back whenever you want to have me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a really great time talking to you about this series because this is, like I told you before, that this is my all-time favorite trilogy. And just talking about this series with you, it was just a real privilege. Like I really enjoyed this talk, and hopefully we can do this again, and maybe we can talk about what are our favorite trilogies. Like we can probably make it be like a top 5 or a top 10, and we
Love
can
it.
just yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for being part of this. This is really awesome. Like, I'm really glad that we got to do this. I just could not emphasize how much fun this conversation was because this video was a long time coming because ever since I started this channel, I've been wanting to review this series.
Awesome, man. I'm glad. I'm honored to be here. And hey, man, I had a great time talking. I apologize if I got carried away and lost track of
Oh,
time with it.
it's
But yeah.
okay. Well, dude, thank you so much for being part of this. And like I said before, I think it'll be great that we can do a top 5 or top 10 video. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's absolutely great meeting you and having this talk with you. I just want to
Cool.
say thank you from the bottom of my heart because I had a blast.
Me too, man. See you next time.
See you next time.
Peace.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you really liked what you saw, just please press that like button. And if you have not done so, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps us out here. And very soon we're going to have more content for you. We're going to have a few more people that I've collaborated with. And I just can't wait to bring out more videos for you. So I will see you guys next time.